Okay, so we should be live now. Thank you everyone for joining us. Just gonna give everyone like 1 minute to join, and then we'll get started. Okay. All right, thank you everyone for joining again. We are here to talk about, or for the family of Denis and Julio and Denis and Julio themselves to talk about their case. In 1996, cousins Denis and Julio reunited in Philadelphia after not seeing each other for some time. After spending some time with Denis's wife and children, they decided to walk to the neighborhood bar for a beer. As they approached the bar, a mob of 20 to 30 white men began harassing them, yelling racial slurs, and throwing glass bottles. Denis and Julio tried to escape and run back to the house, but lost each other among all the confusion and chaos. Denis and Julio were brutally beaten, and as the police arrived on the scene, the victims of this vicious attack were arrested instead of the attackers. Denis and Julio were then wrongfully convicted of aggravated assault by Seth Williams, who used this case to propel his first campaign for district attorney. Denis and Julio were permanent residents at the time. However, because of the wrongful conviction, they were both deported to Peru after serving a prison sentence, doubling their punishment. Today, we demand that ICE agree to reopen the deportation orders so that these families can be reunited. Now we'll hear from Denis, Julio, family, and community members and attorneys, and we'll have time for press questions at the end. And I'll pass it on to Denis.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate that. My name is Denis Calderón. I'm number 4 out of 5 siblings in my family. I was born in Peru, but I was raised in New York. I was a family man who was brutally attacked along with my cousin and wrongfully accused and convicted for something we did not do. And we're seeking justice to clear my name and return home to my family, hopefully one day.
Thank you, Denis. Julio, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. My name is Julio Maldonado, and I am a resident from New York City, visiting Philadelphia. I helped build a nightclub there at the Felton in North Philly. Visited my cousin before the club was opening and to see his home, and we decided to go around the corner. Yes, and they did attack us. They did throw bottles, and I think it just escalated too much. The incident. It's not an accident. It was an incident. We did. I did have. I was involved in this, but not the way it resulted as the accusers accused us. And then it carried on into the district attorney's office. And yes, we were wrongfully convicted. I tried to take all the blame so I could fight this alone. Denis was a family man with 2 children. I had none at the time. And I think it's still wrong. We were punished extremely, and we are I was forcibly removed for not signing the deportation. But anyway, excuse me, can you hear me? It was an incoming call. And right now I find myself in South America, and I do want to return. It's been over 25 years. I do want to have my chance back in the States where I belong. This is my birth of origin, origin of birth, something like that. And I do want to go back to New York City. That's my home. Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. Go ahead, Jasenia.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jasenia. I'm the daughter of Denis. I'm 29 years old. When the incident happened, I was 5 years old. So it impacted my family financially, emotionally, mentally. My mother was forced into single motherhood, taking care of me, my younger brother. Emotionally, my mom, fell into a depression. It affected their marriage. I suffer from anxiety now. So we're still, coping and dealing with the fact that he's not with us. He's missed out on a lot of milestones in our life, a lot of events, birthdays, holidays, graduations, military graduations, for both his kids, me and my brother, our prior service. So his son is actually actively in the Navy right now in Los Angeles. So we're just trying to make up for lost time, and hopefully justice will be served and he can come back and be able to make memories that he lost out on in the early years.
Thank you, Jasenia. Maria, would you like to say a few words? You're muted, Maria.
Hi, my name is Maria Calderon, and I'm the oldest in the family. I'm hoping that you hear us due to a hate crime that my cousin and my brother suffered back in 1996. The whole family suffered hardship due to also a conviction that it should have never happened, that led them into a deportation or taken away from their family. I witnessed Denis's kids growing up without a father. So I'm hoping that you guys can hear us, that Denis really needs to be here with his family and kids. See if we can try to gain the lost time that he had with his kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Now we'll hear from the attorneys in this case, David Benion and Marnie Jo Snyder.
I just want to give a little bit of background on where we are today in regards to the criminal matter. I represent Denis Calderón, and myself and Julio's lawyer, we submitted to the District Attorney's Office, to the Conviction Integrity Unit, some background on this case and the results of our investigation. So we uncovered witnesses who admitted that they never actually saw Julio or Denis assault the decedent, the person that was assaulted, rather, the victim in this case. They said that they really had testified to what they assume happened when they saw that a man was on the ground, and that Julio and Denis had been attacked earlier, and they kind of thought that all of the commotion that had happened resulted in Julio and Denis assaulting someone, when they really never saw any of those things. And then we've also recovered some forensic reports that show that the decedent had never had any blunt force trauma to the head at all, which contradicts what the district attorney and Seth Williams' office argued all along. And so the Conviction Integrity Unit is looking at the case right now. They're continuing their investigation. They are absolutely, at this point, excited to help Denis and Julio, I believe, in obtaining a pardon, because they know that this conviction should not stand. And we're hoping that their investigation continues on, and so there can be a complete exoneration. But what we're really excited for is for Julio and Denis to be reunited with their families, so they can stop suffering under the weight of this conviction, as they've done exponentially when you add the deportation to the conviction and the jail time in this case. So that's what we're really hopeful for on the legal end.
Thank you, Marnie. Thank you, everyone. My name is David Benion. I'm the Executive Director of Free Migration Project. I'm also an immigration lawyer, and my role in this matter is to represent Denis and Julio in their immigration cases. And to that end, I'm coordinating with Marnie on the immigration side. We're working with Denis and Julio here to try to unwind 25 years now of injustice. And we've seen, as Marnie explained, that the District Attorney's Office is starting to make amends for the corrupt and vicious prosecution that was handled by then Assistant District Attorney Seth Williams, who has now been convicted and served a sentence of his own for charges of corruption and bribery. However, ICE has not taken steps to make things right, given their role in vindictively deporting Denis and Julio based on that wrongful conviction. Denis and Julio have now been separated from their families twice, first through their wrongful imprisonment by state and federal authorities in both their immigration and criminal cases back in the 90s and 2000s, but second, through their wrongful deportation to Peru. As Jasenia described, Denis's children grew up without their father in the home. Denis and Julio came to the US as young children. They grew up as American citizens in all but paper. The criminal injustice system hit them first, and then the punitive 1996 immigration law hit them second. If we are to see the Biden administration fulfill its promises to the immigrant community, they can start by correcting past injustices like this one. Exile through deportation is family separation too. And we need ICE lawyers to follow the guidance that the administration has issued, which is supposed to apply to decisions by ICE lawyers about how to prosecute immigration cases, and also when and whether to join requests to reopen past deportation cases, which is what we're asking them to do here. We hope that they will hold up on their end what the Biden administration has instructed them to do. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Now we'll hear from Erika Guadalupe Nunez, who is the Executive Director for Juntos here in Philadelphia.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Erika Guadalupe Nunez, and I'm the Executive Director of Juntos, which is a Latinx immigrant rights organization here in South Philadelphia. Juntos and community are honored to stand in solidarity with Denis and Julio and uplift Free Migration Project's call to ICE to reopen these deportation orders so that these families can be reunited and so that a terrible injustice purported by our own so-called systems of protection can finally be undone. Since their inception, the U.S. criminal justice system and the U.S. immigration system have utilized laws, policies, and practices that are deeply steeped in racism, resulting in the vilification of Black communities and communities of color and contributing to the rise of mass incarceration, detention, and deportation. Through my own work as a longtime community organizer and someone who was formerly undocumented, I have seen firsthand how these systems work in tandem to marginalize and oppress rather than secure public safety or even justice. As the previous assistant district attorney on the case, Seth Williams used Denis and Julio to advance his first campaign for district attorney. He was not representing the interests of the Commonwealth. He was only considering his own, treating Denis and Julio as props to gain political stardom without any reflection on how this would dramatically impact them, their families, or their members of our own community as witness. The practice of using immigrants as scapegoats to secure stronger footing in higher office is not something new in Philadelphia. Just a few weeks ago, we had a candidate running for DA that stated publicly that he'd gladly cooperate with ICE. Before then, we had a mayor that rescinded our sanctuary city policy before the end of his term, right before accepting a position on the Homeland Security Council, describing the measure as one that secured public safety. As we reflect on these instances, we applaud recently re-elected DA Larry Krasner's decision to refute Denis and Julio's case for prosecutorial misconduct. But there is still so much to be done. And it begins with firmly addressing how ICE has historically and to this day utilized a racist public narrative and overly broad and arbitrary categorizations to mark Black, Indigenous people of color as violent offenders as a means to argue their disposability. In 1996, Denis and Julio were charged with an aggravated felony by a disgraced DA, resulting in them being punished twice for a crime they did not commit, a decision that carried extremely cruel consequences and not only affected them as individuals, but their families and our community. Under the new enforcement guidelines, both Denis and Julio are not an enforcement priority, and ICE should take steps to allow them back into the US. But ICE continues to neglect its responsibility in ensuring that its lawyers comply with department and agency policies. As we await the final ICE guidelines from the Biden administration, we echo the call for interim policies that limit immigration and the criminal justice system's ability and power to criminalize, arrest, and deport our communities, while also providing greater measures of accountability as part of our road to abolition. This is how we begin to right the wrong that happened to Denis and Julio. This is how we begin steps towards a new and more just future. Thank you.
Thank you, Erika, and thank you everyone again for joining us. If you have any questions, you can submit them to us via email at fmp@freemigrate.org. We will also be sending out a press release with all of our